Right, so we're diving into all the buzz around Disney's live-action Snow White, which is aiming for a 2025 release, but
Right.
not without, like, some pretty big hurdles along the way, right?
Yeah.
We're going to unpack the delays, the casting controversies, even those, reimagined characters
Yeah.
that have everybody talking.
It's really interesting, this whole thing has become like a lightning rod
Yeah.
for how we rethink like these classic stories and bring them into like the present day
Yeah.
for a modern audience.
Totally.
How do we do that?
So first off, this film, it was
Okay.
supposed to come out March 2024,
Okay.
but then those SAG-AFTRA strikes happened.
Right.
Which, like, basically
shut down
went down Hollywood.
Yeah.
So now we're looking at March 21st, 2025.
Okay, so they pushed it a full year,
A full year.
which is interesting, right? Because like that's not just a logistical thing.
All right.
Like now they've got all this extra time to like deal with all these like controversies
Yeah.
and maybe like fine tune, how they're going to present the film.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a whole PR strategy now.
Yeah.
So speaking of controversies, can we talk about Rachel Zegler?
Yes.
Yes.
Latina actress
Well,
playing Snow White.
Snow White and like, which
Historically, the character has been portrayed very differently.
very, very differently.
And, it's got people talking, right? Because you think about Snow White
Yeah.
and you think about a very specific look.
Yeah.
And so
this is challenging us to, like,
think differently about how we adapt,
Mhm.
right? Like, is it just straight up, copying the source material?
Yeah.
Or is there, like, room for reinterpretation,
Right.
to kind of, like, see it through a contemporary lens?
Modernize it a little bit.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so it's a tricky question.
It is. And like Zegler herself has even weighed in on this.
Oh, really? What did she say?
Oh, yeah. She's like,
Yeah.
I want to play Snow White as a stronger, more independent character.
Okay.
Not, your typical damsel in distress.
Right. Not the classic, like, passive princess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, she even hinted that in this version, Snow White's not really waiting around for a prince, She's focused on, like, creating her own path, which, some fans were like, yes, finally. But then others were like, hold on, that's not Snow White.
Right.
So it's like, how much can you change before it's not the same story anymore?
It's true, and I think it really gets at those deeper questions of, like, what do we even mean when we say strong female character?
Totally.
Like, who gets to decide that?
Yeah, and is there only one way to be strong,
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more?
Oh, there's more.
Because if the casting wasn't enough, the trailer dropped.
Oh, I know, I saw it.
Okay, so you've seen the internet's reaction to
yeah.
this, right?
It's a lot to process.
It's a lot.
There are a lot of opinions.
And one of the big things that people are talking about, like, remember the 7 dwarfs? They're not dwarfs anymore. They're magical creatures now.
Interesting choice.
And, like, I understand why they made that change,
Right.
sensitivity and all that.
Yeah, because it's kind of a sensitive topic.
But it's also kind of like, is that really addressing the problem? Or are you just kind of like...
Right. Are you just kind of like putting a Band-Aid on it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's sparked a whole other debate.
Which I think is really interesting, because it shows how difficult it is
Yeah.
to take these old stories and try to update them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you're never going to please everyone.
Exactly. And so it's like, where does that leave Snow White?
Right. What's the future of this film?
Well, Disney seems committed to this new release date, March 2025. And they're putting it up against some heavy hitters like the new Avatar and Zootopia 2.
Wow. Okay, so they're not shying away from competition.
No, they're not. They're like, we're going head to head with the big dogs.
Okay, so they must have, like, a lot of confidence in it,
They must.
despite all this controversy.
All the chatter.
Yeah, it'll be really fascinating to see what people actually think.
I know, when they finally sit down and watch it.
When it's not just, speculation in trailers.
Yeah, like, are people actually going to go see this?
Right.
Or is it going to be a total flop?
Is it going to be a huge hit? Or are people going to be like, no thanks?
Who knows, right?
I'm kind of anxious to see what happens.
Me too. But it's definitely not your average fairy tale, that's for sure.
Not anymore.
So, what do you think? Is Disney on the right track here? Or have they taken this reimagining a step too far? Let us know.